With the pressure to deliver a new title every year, SNK made a bold choice not to create just another sequel, but to refine and perfect everything that made King of Fighters legendary. Enter the King of Fighters 98, a game designed as the ultimate KOF experience. This wasn't just another fighting game, it was a celebration of the franchise, featuring a massive roster, refined mechanics, and a gameplay that still holds up decades later. In this video, we will delve into the history of the King of Fighters 98, how it was made, what made it special, and why it remains one of the greatest fighting games of all time. Against all odds, the King of Fighters 97 was SNK's biggest release in the popular King of Fighters series. The game director Toyohisa Tanabe was able to successfully take on the helm of the series and delivered an outstanding title and an epic conclusion to the Orochi saga narrative. The game was so big that it had an effect on how fighting game storytelling should be addressed. Both the public reception and the sales data showed SNK that the King of Fighters was more popular than ever, and that the King of Fighters 97 was a milestone for both the game and the company. As fans expected a new title every year, SNK decided to once again task Toyohisa Tanabe with working on the new sequel. Due to the massive work that went into properly culminating the first major arc of the King of Fighters series, SNK and Tanabe decided that for this new sequel, they would take a break from advancing the narrative and instead make a game that celebrates the previous releases. Thus, the idea of a dream match, the subtitle used for the King of Fighters 98, was born.
It all began in 94, kept on rolling in 95, this is where it plays in 96, it came to an end in 97, and now it comes, and here we go, KOF is here again, nothing's gonna stop it, it's 1998.
Not having a canon story allowed the King of Fighters developers team to bring back characters who were canonically dead, like the now very popular Orochi team. This was a way to celebrate the franchise and allow players to enjoy these characters. One of the teams that finally made a comeback was the American Sports team, which only appeared in the first game of the series. Made up of Heavy D, Lucky Glauber, and Brian Battler, these characters had never been updated graphically. SNK decided to go back to the drawing board, redraw these fighters, and give them new moves and specials. Other characters were also updated, like Vice and Mature, who now have more moves than in the previous appearances. Hydron and Takuma also made a comeback with new updated sprites since they were last seen in the King of Fighters 95. Joining them was Kyoku Sanagi's father, Saishu, who was last seen as the mid-boss character for the King of Fighters 95. Speaking of bosses, Rugal Bernstein, the famous boss of the King of Fighters 94 and 95, finally made his proper gameplay introduction as a selectable character in the roster. While Rugal was previously playable in some ports of the King of Fighters 95 as a secret character, this was the first time the King of Fighters boss was meant to be a competitive character with proper balance. When the King of Fighters 97 was released, it offered players for the first time the ability to choose a different version of some characters, like EX Kyo, Orochi Iori, and Orochi Leona. The idea was very popular among fans, so SNK decided to offer more alternate versions of established characters in the King of Fighters 98. These included Terry, Andy, Joe, Mai, and Billy, who now have an EX version reminiscent of their Fatal Fury Real Bout 2 iteration. Ryo, Robert, and Yuri also had an EX version similar to the King of Fighters 95 version. The Orochi versions of Chris, Yashiro, and Shermie were also selectable. With more time to focus on graphical fidelity, now that there was no new narrative for the game, SNK decided to raise the ante when it came to the game stages and music. While stages were not tied to teams as they were between the King of Fighters 94 and 96, the King of Fighters 98 offers some of the series' most beautiful and memorable stages. One iconic stage was the Asaka Station stage, which was a true rendition of the bridge outside the Asaka Station in Osaka, an area close to the SNK office where many of the staff used to walk by. The King of Fighters 98 also happens to be the first game in the series where players could choose the stage in which they would fight in versus mode. In team and single play modes, the stages were automatically chosen randomly. While in the King of Fighters 97, only a few characters and teams had dedicated music, for the King of Fighters 98, SNK made sure that every team had their own theme, and some characters had their own music that played under certain conditions. The special intros between characters, which were introduced in the King of Fighters 96 and expanded upon in the King of Fighters 97, also saw an upgrade, with many characters now reacting to fighting their rivals. This added more personality to these now iconic characters. In terms of gameplay, SNK decided to keep the now very popular Advanced and Extra mode selection introduced in the previous game and added a little refinement to it. Enter the new Advantage system, a mechanic that rewards players as they lose their team members, giving them a slight advantage to help turn the tables. In Advanced mode, the Advantage system rewards players who lose team members by increasing the maximum number of stocks they can hold. The first team member can store 3 stocks, the second can store 4, and the final fighter can hold up to 5 stocks at a time, offering a strategic advantage when the stakes are highest. The Advantage system also applies to Extra mode users, reducing the time it takes to charge the POW gauge as teammates are lost. This mechanic ensures that as battles progress, players have more opportunities to access their most powerful attacks. The social interaction feature introduced in the King of Fighters 97 also makes a comeback and now has an effect on the Advantage system. In the Order Select screen, players could hold down the Start button to see smiley icons depicting character relationships. These icons identified how POW stocks were affected between rounds in Advanced mode, and whether teammates would help by calling off a backup attack in both Advanced and Extra modes. The character relations directly reflect the order of team members designated by the player. A happy smiley face meant the two characters were on friendly terms, awarding 1 power stock when the next character came into play. If undefeated, they would always help in a backup attack. A neutral smiley meant the two characters were indifferent to each other, leaving stocks unchanged. If undefeated, they might or might not help in a backup attack. An angry face meant the two characters despised each other, resulting in 1 stock being deducted when the next character entered. Even if undefeated, they would never assist with a backup attack. Another important goal that Tanabe and his team had was to offer a well-balanced game, free of the issues later found in the previous game. This was a very time-consuming process that paid off, as the King of Fighters 98 was, and still is, considered one of the most balanced King of Fighters games. Interestingly, as the team worked on balancing the game, Tanabe thought it would be fun if Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter series were playable in a King of Fighters game. Unknown to upper management, Tanabe and his team drew the two Street Fighter characters and added them in playable form to the then in development King of Fighters 98. This was just a fun experiment and predated any serious talks about SNK and Capcom collaborating for the Capcom vs SNK and SNK vs Capcom titles. It was also recently revealed that the same build included a version of the famous Dragon Ball Z protagonist Son Goku. Unfortunately, the build that included these characters was lost and never found again. The King of Fighters 98 was originally released in the arcades on July 23, 1998. A home version for the Neo Geo AES was then released on September 23rd of the same year, followed by the Neo Geo CD version on December 23rd.
It's here! The revolutionary Neo Geo Pocket Color!
The King of Fighters 98 also received a unique port on SNK's new Neo Geo Portable, the Neo Geo Pocket Color. The color was released only a few months after the monochrome Neo Geo Pocket, which had the King of Fighters R1 or Round 1, a King of Fighters 97 adaptation, as a launch title. With the Neo Geo Pocket Color releasing in March 1999, SNK decided to create a brand new King of Fighters game based on the King of Fighters 98, the King of Fighters R2.
キングオブファイターズがネオジオポケットカラーに新登場。格闘モード、育成モードで最強のファイターを作り上げろ。キングオブファイターズラウンド2 No one said.
The game offered 18 playable characters, including the game's boss Rugal Bernstein. Almost all the mechanics from the arcade version of the King of Fighters 98 were ported to the game, like the advanced and extra modes, as well as the characters' moves and specials. The game also offered versus mode via the Neo Geo Pocket Color Link cable, as well as data transfer to the then in development Sega Dreamcast version of the King of Fighters 98, which we will discuss shortly. The King of Fighters R2 also featured an extra mode called Journey. This mode allows the player's favorite characters to be buffed with certain assets. Points earned in this mode could transfer to the Dreamcast port of the King of Fighters 98 to help boost characters and unlock gallery images. Speaking of the Dreamcast port, this port was released in the summer 1999 and is called the King of Fighters Dream Match 1999.
あのキングオブファイターズがついにドリームキャストに登場。しかも両ポケカラーと接続して新しい遊びが広がります。ドリームキャスト版ザ・キングオブファイターズドリームマッチ1999 Now on sale.
Unlike other console ports of the King of Fighters 98, Dream Match 1999 offered a number of changes and improvements to the game. First, the stages of the game were redone using 3D. The select screen and victory screens were completely redesigned. The music was also remixed and refined. And finally, a beautiful new anime intro was produced for the game. Multiple comical mangas were produced to coincide with the release of the King of Fighters 98, as well as an official light novel by Akihiko Oreshino that delves into the story of Shingo, since the King of Fighters 98 game itself was not canon and had no story. The King of Fighters 98 received rave reviews and was considered the best King of Fighters chapter in the series. In Japan, Game Machine magazine listed the King of Fighters 98 in their September 1st, 1998 issue as being the most successful arcade game of the month. According to Famitsu, the AES version sold over 22,651 copies in its first week on the market. During its release week, the Dreamcast version of the game sold over 58,000 copies in Japan. Worldwide, the game was also praised as an excellent addition to the successful King of Fighters series. IGN rated the Dreamcast version of the game 8.4 praising the gameplay, characters, graphics, music, and background designs. GameSpot called the game the best 2D fighting game of the time. Throughout the years, the King of Fighters 98 saw multiple re-releases, but none were more notable than the King of Fighters 98 Ultimate Match.
It all began in 94, kept on rolling in 95, pieces were replaced in 96, it came to the end in 97, and now it comes, and here we go. KOF is here again, nothing from sound is 1998. KOF is here again.
Released 10 years after the original King of Fighters 98, Ultimate Match was an updated version of the game that offered a number of additions and enhancements to the roster and game system. The upgrade was first released in Japan as an arcade game for the Taito Type X hardware in March 2008, before receiving a PlayStation 2 version on June 26th of the same year. Released under the new rebranded SNK Playmore, the King of Fighters 98 Ultimate Match brought back many characters that did not initially make it to the King of Fighters 98, including many of the bosses such as Genitz and Orochi, as well as the famed King of Fighters 96 boss team of Geese, Krauser, and Mr. Big. Additionally, new alternate versions of characters were added, such as EX Blue Mary and EX Yamazaki. Meanwhile, other alternate versions of characters gained brand new portraits, first seen in the console versions of the original King of Fighters 98. In terms of gameplay, the King of Fighters 98 UM received a number of changes. First, Extra Mode received several significant revisions, bringing it more on par with the widely popular Advanced Mode. Players can now manually activate Max Mode in Extra Mode when the gauge is fully charged, rather than it triggering automatically. The full gauge is stored as a single stock, giving players the flexibility to choose when to unleash its power. Additionally, a new Quick Max Mode was introduced exclusively for Extra Mode, allowing players to activate Max Mode during a connecting hit, excluding grabs or throws. This feature cancels the player's attack into Max Mode without the typical power-up pose, enabling smoother combo extensions and offensive opportunities. Other enhancements include faster gauge charging, quicker recovery from the charging animation, and improved sidesteps with reduced recovery frames. Extra Mode also saw changes to the advantage system for later team members. Instead of adjusting the power bar's length, it now increases the critical HP range threshold, allowing players to use super moves and super special moves without cost when in near half HP. To balance this, the HP bar enters a cooldown period after using a free super move, preventing spam during critical moments. To further compensate for the stationary dodges limitations compared to Advanced Mode's rolling, Extra Mode grants a slight increase in walking speed, giving players a better chance to reposition strategically. Finally, the King of Fighters 98 introduced a brand new gameplay mode called Ultimate Mode. Unlike Advanced and Extra Modes, which come with their own set gameplay features, this new Ultimate Mode allows the player to fully customize their gauge systems and mechanics. Players can choose between Advanced or Extra styles, deciding their preferred gauge type, dodging method, and quick movement style, offering an unprecedented level of personalization for gameplay. A new version of the game, titled The King of Fighters 98 Ultimate Match Final Edition, was released as well, containing various tweaks to the characters and game mechanics. It was initially released for the arcades, with PC versions later being released through Steam on December 16, 2014. Finally, in 2021, this final edition was updated with rollback netcode, allowing fans to play this amazing game online from the comfort of their homes. But whether it's the original version or the Ultimate Edition, the King of Fighters 98 remains one of SNK's most successful releases. Tanabe's meticulous work on the game's balance ensured its strong and long-lasting presence in tournaments throughout the years. Even today, the King of Fighters 98 continues to attract players from around the world to compete in this highly successful game.
And he gets the slides.
As Dako tried to escape, Xiaohai slides in to maintain his status as Neo Geo World Tour.
The King of Fighters 98 is considered the pinnacle of the King of Fighters series. With a large roster, great gameplay and balance, and multiple ports, it truly felt like the end of a chapter for the King of Fighters franchise. But when a chapter ends, a new one shall begin, and the next one would mark a big evolution for the King of Fighters saga. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Big shout out to the channel's Patreons and premium subscribers for helping the channel and making this content possible. You can become a Patreon or a premium subscriber by checking the link below or clicking on the join button below this video. Until next time, thank you guys for watching.